Okay, here we are on the A56, that old Roman road between Manchester and Chester again. We got loud cars going by. What kind of sound are we getting? Are we getting a lot of background noise? No odds, because we don't need audio on this shot.
Sale is one of those towns that's oddly easy to miss. Despite being quite large, you can drive through it at least 5 times before you realize you've done it.
Here.
It's the sort of place that feels as though it's always been there, like pavement or the concept of Tuesdays, without ever asking for much attention. It's neither flash nor forlorn. It's just comfortable, like a cardigan your nan might describe as perfect for popping to the shops. But if you happen to be paying attention, which, let's face it, is unlikely on the A56, you might notice this: the Sale Lido. It opened 90 years ago today. You probably remember it as Mecca Bingo.
What are you at? It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. Back in 1963, the Beatles made their first appearance at the Oasis Club in Manchester with Pete Best on the drums. That very same night, there was an equally famous group appearing at this venue, Bingo Star.
Now, I'll be honest with you, when I first saw the place, I had no idea what a Lido actually was. In fact, I wasn't even entirely sure how to pronounce it. Lido? Lido? I've heard both, sometimes in the same sentence, once confusingly from the same person. To me, the only Lido I knew growing up was the Lido Shuffle, that 1976 song by Boz Scaggs, which I used to think was about a seaside dance craze or possibly a European ferry. Turns out it's about gambling, or maybe heartbreak, or possibly both. Like most things in the 70s, it's best not to tug too hard at the lyrics.
My doctor told me I have a bingo tumor, but no need to worry, it's benign.
Anyway, this was a Lido of the British variety, which, if you don't know, is basically an outdoor swimming pool that's been given a Mediterranean name in the hope that you won't notice it's freezing cold and smells faintly of elastoplast and chips. But in the 1930s, that was the dream. Sunshine, fresh air, vigorous splashing, all in a space designed to make you feel just a little more continental, without actually having to leave Cheshire.
A little known fact about this building in Sale in the northwest of England: it was once the home of the biggest international non-governmental organization in the world.
Now, I'll be honest, it's not what you call conventionally beautiful. It's a bit grey, a bit blocky, a bit like what might happen if you asked a 1930s toaster to turn itself into a building. But it is interesting.
What's a bingo player's favorite music? Anything with a good B8.
It has the lovely flat roof and porthole windows that say, "Someone somewhere once saw a photograph of Miami Beach and thought, yes, let's do that, but let's make it British." When I first saw it, it had one word emblazoned across the front in letters so large you could probably see it from Bolton. Subtlety clearly was not part of the architectural brief. Now, I have nothing against bingo. It's loud, it's social, and it involves pensioners wielding felt-tipped pens like they're about to invade Normandy. But it did make me wonder, what was this place before all the shouting and the dabbers? And the answer, delightfully, is this was a Lido. The Lido opened in 1935 right in the middle of the Great Depression as part of Sale's charter celebrations when the town was granted borough status and decided quite sensibly to throw a party about it. There were bands, there were speeches, there were children dressed as flowers, and best of all, there was this brand new swimming pool. Well, mostly brand new, because if you look closely at this footage, just behind all the swimmers and splashing, there's a man giving one last lick of paint during the actual opening. Nothing says on schedule like painting a public building while small children frolic nearby in their Sunday best. I suppose that's one way to test if the paint's dry. Get the mayor to lean on it. But this wasn't just any pool. This was a Lido, which as we know is the word the British use when they want to feel continental about freezing to death in their own country. It had everything, a solarium, a café, even a cover so it could be used for dances in winter. It was essentially a leisure center before the concept existed. And there's a rumor, unconfirmed, but far too good to ignore, that it had a sliding floor. Yes, like in It's a Wonderful Life. You know the scene, Jimmy Stewart dancing and then suddenly falling into the water. People swear that happened here. Now it probably didn't, but frankly, who cares? If Sale wants to believe it once had a bit of Hollywood under its lino, I say let them. In time, as these things go, the glamour faded. People got central heating, foreign holidays, indoor plumbing. The Lido closed, and Bingo moved in. Say what you like, but you can't fault Bingo for optimism. It kept the building going, gave people a reason to come together, and gave us lines like this.
What do you call a pensioner that wins 3 bingo games in a row? A Jerry hat trick.
Now, nearly 90 years on, the building still stands. A little tired, a little neglected, but still here, still waiting. And that's kind of the point.
B2 or not B2? That is the question. No, the question is, who was Bingo? The farmer or the dog?
Because all those good old days that people get misty-eyed about, the street parties, the May Queens, the brass bands and the buntings, they didn't just happen by magic. Someone had to organize them, raise the money, paint the wall during the ceremony. It took effort, and that's what we forget. The people who built this weren't trying to preserve anything. They were trying to make something better, livelier for their town, their kids, their community. They planted seeds, and now, almost a century later, we're standing in their garden saying, "Isn't this lovely?" The question is, what are we planting? What will people stand in front of 90 years from now and say, well, that was a curious thing in concrete, but it mattered.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Winner. Winner who? When are you going to give up these stupid bingo jokes?
So maybe a building doesn't have to be beautiful. Maybe it just has to last, to remind us that community isn't something you inherit. It's something you show up for, preferably with a paintbrush. We like to think of the past as the good old days, but the truth is, they were just days, made good by people who cared, who painted walls, who organized dances, who believed, perhaps a bit naively, that what Sale really needed was a swimming pool with style. Over the decades, things changed. The dances stopped, the swimming dried up, and bingo, that noble British art of quiet competitiveness and loud card marking, moved in. And while it's easy to sneer at bingo, there's something rather comforting about it. The building kept going, it adapted, it remained useful, which in the end might be the most underrated kind of success. Now, nearly 100 years on, it's still here, a little weary, a little wonky, still standing, still interesting, and very much still Sale.
Before you go, I have one last thing to say. 069. See you next time.